Hello there everyone, my name is Stuart, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make a character for my first role-playing game, End of Empires. And first things what we're going to need is obviously the character sheet, so I've got the two sides here. A paper clip, which I'll show you what that needs later, some scrap paper to write down stats for, some dice. Game uses D100 and D10s. So with that, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just do this randomly. You would never do this in game, you choose your race, but I'm going to roll to see what race that I play. There are 9 races, but humans are the most common, so I'm going to have 9 and 10. I'll pick a well, actually no, let's go for 1 and 10. I'm going to pick a human. 1 being European, 1 being Middle Eastern. So let's have a roll. 2. So let's go to the character sheet, and I'm going to be making a dwarf. So I'm making a dwarf. So now that we've got that done, we'll put that into the racial section of the sheet. Make him male. We'll go with make him middle age. So 36. So he's middle age, black hair, olive skin, because in End of Empires the dwarves are Greco-Roman. So with that, we've got a name, and we'll just come up with a name. Well, we'll make him Titus Antonius. There we go. So now we've got our race and our name, we'll go for rolling up his stats. So first things first is we'll put down the starting stats. So we look at our stats. There are 8 strength, toughness, agility, resolve, perception, intelligence, charisma, and luck. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down the dwarf starting stats in. So that's a 5 in strength, a 15 in toughness, 0 in agility because you're a dwarf, 15 in resolve. That means so dwarves tend to be quite tough both physically and mentally. Perception of 5. Let's just adjust this here. 5. Intelligence of 5. Charisma of 0 because again dwarves, and a luck of 0. As everyone starts with 0 in luck. Now, for every single one of these stats, we roll 2d10 and add them together. If we get 4 or less, we re-roll them, and that's that's a total of 4 or less. So let's roll this 8 times. Now, where to assign them? Well, let's think of a character concept. We'll make him. Well, you know, we'll make him quite a physical character. So, you know, dwarves tend to be quite beefy, quite strong guys, so let's go ahead and make him strong and tough. So we'll put an 18 in strength, giving him 23. We'll put the other we'll put a 15 in toughness, so he has a nice toughness of 30. Agility will make 18, because agility is a very important stat to use, and I'll explain more on that later. So let's use those. His resolve will put 16 in that, so he'll have a 31. And then for the others, we'll go, you know, he'll be, let's make him not very charismatic, so he's not a talker, he's quite silent, so we'll put the other 8 in there. And then his perception, he'll be more perceptive, so have an 18 in perception, 15 in intelligence. Let's just write that out there. Rubber, of course. And now that'll leave the 8 in luck. Now, luck is special. If you want to put something in luck, you can halve the amount you put in. I'm not going to. I'm going to have him give him an 8 in luck as well. So he's actually fairly lucky. You know, it's nothing you would right hand belt, but also luck counts for both your positive luck and your negative luck. So you'll see here, good luck, so that will be 1 to 8. So that means if he rolls a 1 to an 8 on a D100, it counts as a critical. However, if he rolls a 93 to 100, he gets critical failure. Remember, when you're putting in luck, minus the number you're putting in luck from 101, not 100, because otherwise you end up gaining slightly more bad luck than you do good luck. Just think about it. Because he hasn't got a 10 in luck, he doesn't gain an extra reroll, so he only gains the single reroll that everyone else has. And he's a medium size, so we'll just put that in there. Walk speed, run speed, and sprint speed. His agility can be adjusted, so we'll leave that there. Reputation, something might come up in his background, so we'll wait for the see of that. Languages. Now, dwarves can speak Imperial or Wanderer. Now that means they can. So we'll have him walking around mainland Europe, so he'll speak Imperial. And he'll be a Republican dwarf. So that's more the Roman dwarves than the Greek dwarves. So he'll speak Republican. And we'll put a little star next to Republican to note that's his main language. Basically, he might lose some tact if he doesn't know how to speak. If he's speaking Imperial, as it's not his main language. So, with that, we will then roll for his life story. Life stories are, well, obviously their character's life story. So traditionally you will roll. You get to pick one, and that is what a dwarf gets. So served in the army or failed apprenticeship. Make him a crafts dwarf. So we'll give him served in the. So we'll give him failed apprenticeship. This means he automatically tags a single profession of his choice, and let's be nice and stereotypical. Let's say he is an ex-smith. So he used to be a smith, and you need strength and you need toughness, and we'll say intelligence to be a smith, because you know, that way you end up creating some nice things, but more on skills later. Also, I should note that as a dwarf he's got some special abilities, so traits and special modifiers. We need to put in that he is stable. Dwarves are quite hard to trip up because they're quite short and squat. They also have tunnel sense, and this means that they light is a little brighter for them, so twilight counts as a little brighter for them, and they gain a +10 on search checks that involve hearing, because they would have learned to listen with their ears more as they emerge from the mountain holes, although Republican dwarves tend to live in above ground. Anyway, onto life paths. So the first thing that of a life path you need to roll is you need to take a D100 and roll on your birth sign. This is the sign that your character was born under. So we've rolled a 94. Look down the list. 94 is the mark of the hare. This gives him an extra reroll. So he actually has 2 rerolls. So for all intents and purposes, he's actually a very lucky dwarf. We'll have to wait and see how that went for him. Now, on to life events. We've already done one, which was failed apprenticeship. That's a good roll. So what happens is you get 6 life events as standard. You can have more, you can have less. 6 is the normal. You have 4 good life events, including the one that you pick for being a racial, so we've got to roll on the good chart 3 times. Then we have to roll 2 negative ones. You can, of course, pick your life events, but you cannot choose the ones that are on a 1, 50, or 100, because they're quite special and rare. Especially the 50, because that counts as 2. They roll 2 events and they count as 1. So let's roll 3 times on the good events. So the first one is a 52, and 52 gets us. He's a skilled learner. This gives us a +3 skill points when leveling up, and an extra +5 at starting. So we'll just put that down. That he has a +5 skill points. And that will be very useful later. For his second or third, I suppose, roll, he gets a 44. This gives him a duelist, so he gains +5 to dodge, which could mean tagging dodge if he doesn't have it already, or 1 weapon skill. So that will give him help in his fighting. So he's going to be quite a fighting little guy. 1, 2, 3. So 1 more. 58. Oh, quite. And he has a family heirloom. Now that's quite a good piece of kit. This means that 1 item of his starting gear is increased by 1 quality. So if we do up his smithing, he could make it. His smith tools could be really good smith tools, which will help him make stuff. And now we go on to the bad life event. So once again, E100. 17, gain infamy. Ooh, this means that he has gained 1 infamy. So we go to reputation and we put 1 in the negative side. This can mean that he did something that he should not have done. So, infamous. And 1 more. Ooh, 7. Lethargic. So he is at -10 to resist fatigue. So it could well be that he fell asleep at his forge, it burnt down. He was very lucky to escape using his ability to dodge, and he gained a little infamy from that one. But also he was lucky to be alive, so that's how you can sort of combine events. But he was a good smith otherwise, aside from falling asleep. So now that we've done the life events, now we have to focus on traits and skills. Now, at starting, every character gets to tag 3 skills and gains 1 trait. Traits are what you'd see as feats in Dungeons and Dragons. So, we will tag 3 skills. Well, we've already got a tag in profession smithing, so we'll tag that again. So he was he's fully tagged in that. Also flip to combat skills on the second sheet, and he gets a tag in dodge or 1 weapon skill. So let's tag him in one-handed. Just be there. So he's so he's quite dodgeable. So that's the ones that we get, because he gets either to tag or extra skill points. So he gets 3 to pick from. He's not very charismatic, so we'll skip out on those. We'll give him some extra maneuver and athletics. They're primarily agility-based skills, but he's got quite a lot of toughness, so let's make him good at maneuver. That's 1 tag. We'll also give him tag in medicine, so he can patch himself up. And just for 1 more, his final one will tag him in block, so he can use a shield and use a one-handed weapon He can use his maneuver to sort of dodge out of the way of things, so he's quite a dodgeable character when it comes to maneuvering through things. And he's a good smith, and he knows how to patch you up. Right, so on to traits. He gets to pick. You will get to pick one trait. We will do those later. Traits are what you'd see as feats in Dungeons and Dragons. So we will tag 3 skills. Well, we've already got a tag in profession smithing, so we'll tag that again. So he was fully he's fully tagged in that. Also flip to combat skills on the second sheet, and he gets a tag in dodge or one weapon skill. So let's tag him in one-handed. Just be there. So he's so he's quite dodgeable. So we know. So that's the ones that we get, because he gets either to tag or extra skill points. So he gets 3 to pick from. He's not very charismatic, so we'll skip out on those. We'll give him some extra maneuver and athletics. They're primarily agility-based skills, but he's got quite a lot of toughness, so let's make him good at maneuver. That's one tag. We'll also give him tag in medicine, so he can patch himself up. And just for one more, his final one will tag him in block, so he can use a shield and use a one-handed weapon. He can use his maneuver to sort of dodge out of the way of things, so he's quite a dodgeable character when it comes to maneuvering through things. And he's a good smith, and he knows how to patch you up. Right, so on to traits. He gets to pick. You will get to pick one trait. We will do those later, because they require a lot of looking through, but moving up. Well, you get 25 skill. Well, you get 25 skill points plus your 4 times your intelligence bonus, in this case 1, and then we get another +5 for our life events, so we get 25, 30, 34. So we have 34 skill points to spend. Now, it costs 10 of these skill points to gain an extra trait, and 5 of these to tag another skill. So what we're going to do is we'll also tag unarmed. Unarmed is obviously fighting with your fists, fighting with shields, trying to trip someone up, trying to throw people, that sort of thing. So that's cost us 5. We'll also put in some to intimidate, so that's 10 in total. And that should be it. So we spent 10 of our 34, so we have 24 left. Okay, now that I've filled out all the skills, I'm going to do traits. So the 2 traits I'm going to choose for Titus here, they're going to be improved. I'm going to improve his agility by 3 points. So his agility is now will now be 21. This will mean I will get a +3 to all stats with agility, which I'll do in a moment, and I'll also give him a free block. So this will mean that he gets a free block every turn with either a shield or like a parry with a sword, that sort of thing. And I have 14 points left to spend, so we'll go with, and I can't put more than 10, so we'll put 5. Let's put 4 into his smithing. So he's got 49 points in smithing, and his one-handed pretty low. It's only 36. So if we just put all 10 into there, give him 46. So he's quite good at one-handed. He's really good at blocking with a nice 53 in block. So he'll be quite good at starting. And a very good smith. He's quite good at maneuvering through things, so we expect him to be the sort of character who can, you know, he can run through a crowd. You know, he can dodge through a crowd quite happily. And with that we can, and now that all it, because the stats been changed, we'll just quickly update the things that require agility. So his maneuver goes up by 3 points, so that's now 51. Just put all 10 into there, give him 46. So he's quite good at one-handed. He's really good at blocking with a nice 53 in block, so he'll be quite good at starting. And a very good smith. He's quite good at maneuvering through things, so we expect him to be the sort of character who can, you know, he can run through a crowd. You know, he can dodge through a crowd quite happily. And with that we can, and now that all it, because the stats been changed, we'll just quickly update the things that require agility. So his maneuver goes up by 3 points, so that's now 51. This will go, sorry about that everyone, no camera trouble. Anyway, so I've gone through and I've updated all the skills, so that now I've added all the skills in, and added the bonus for my agility. Now, I'm going to do something that you should do before or just after you do all the stats, but I knew I was going to be upgrading his agility, so I chose to do it afterwards. So, and that would be the height and weight. So dwarves are 140 plus 2d10 centimeters tall, so it'll be 14. So he's 154 centimeters tall. So he's quite tall for a dwarf. So he's tall, strong, tough, quite a heroic dwarf really. And then his weight. Weight is calculated by taking the strength and toughness of your character. In this case, 53. Add the 2d10, so 14. So 57, 67. And then adding in 45, so 67 out of 45, 105, 113. Then you minus the agility, which would leave us with 92 kilos. Now, there's an optional thing here that you can do, which is you roll a set number of dice. In this case, it's plus or minus 2d10. Now, how do you determine plus or minus? Well, if the dice is pointing up or more upwards, it goes up. If it's pointing more downwards, go down. This is just a little thing to randomize weight a little more to see if your character's a little bit pudgier or a little bit thinner. So, take a roll. They're both pointing up, so 16. So he's 16 kilos heavier, so he is 98, 108 kilos. So he is he is slabs of muscle and probably a bit of fat in there too. So he is a wide, chunky boy. I've stated he's got a reputation of -1, and now because I've upgraded his agility, we can work out his speed. Medium creatures' walk speed is twice their agility bonus, so he has a walk speed of 4. Their run speed is 4 times that number, so run speed of 8. And sprint speed is 3 times that 6 times that number, so 12. So, you know, he can move a bit, and obviously, yeah, he can't fly. So, he's quite fast for a dwarf, he's quite well built, and he's quite chunky. So that's all the important stats we need to know for our little Titus Antonius. Next we do all the wounds, hit points, critical failures. Right, so hit points. How do you work out hit points? It is simply your toughness bonus, so the 3, and your resolve bonus, another 3, so 6, add to 12. So that'll be 18 and 18. His wounded is, well, it'll be 6, add to 7, so 13. And his dying would be 6 add to 2, 2 is the dying HPs plus your 3 that you get from the toughness resolve, so he is a dying of 8. So he is very, very tough. If you're playing a large creature, you get a 50% bonus, so in this case it would be 19, 20, and 12. And if you're a smaller creature, you would get only 75 of this, so this would be, well, it would be less. I don't really have time to work that now, but it would be less. AP, that is your character's action points. It is twice your agility points, which is why I wanted to put up his agility. So he gets 2 action points per round, plus the free block, as we mentioned before. Now these are your wound thresholds. These are based on your hit points. So your minor wound threshold is half your hit points, so 9. So if he takes 9 points of damage, he takes a minor wound. Your major wound is your entire of your hit points, so 18. And your critical wound is these two added together, so in this case it would be 27. So if he took 27 hit points in one blow, he would face a critical wound which might kill him outright. And even if it doesn't, he'll be in serious trouble. Now, just a quick thing on these hit points. Let's grab that there. If you lose all 18 of your hit points, you start taking from your wounded. If you're in the wounded state, you're bleeding, you're at some penalties, and you become shaken. Dying, you're extra bleeding, extra dying, extra everything. So you're in a lot of trouble if you enter the dying state. So you really don't want to go there. So that's it for core stats. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to show you how the morale system works. Now, you've probably noticed that there's a scale on both sides of the sheet, and this is so, if I put these two sheets together, like so, I can then take a paper clip and slide it on here, like so. Now, what does this mean? Oops, it's on both sheets there. Both sheets there. Now, not only is this a handy dandy thing to keep your papers together, but assuming you've got them to line up properly, like so. Now, yeah. You now have a little sliding scale. So currently it's 1 above 6, so which is you always start with a morale of 6. So you can slide it up and down as you see fit, because morale will go up and down as you play the game. It can go down several times in combat, it can go just from walking from point A to B. And as you can see, it works on both sides, or near enough both sides. Might need to do some final adjustments there. But anyway, it's so you can track your morale on both sheets. In fact, if I quickly do it this way round, yeah, it's there. Lines up there much better. Yeah, so put the small part of the paper clip on the front, large piece at the back. It might cover this up, but if you've got a smaller paper clip, it's not doing that much harm just to move it and then put it back again. Now, what does morale do? Why is it important? Well, this number 6 times that by 5, so 30, and you add that to any one of these stats if you're taking certain tests. For example, one of the most common tests you'll have to take is a toughness test, and this is if you take one of those wounds that I spoke about earlier. You take a toughness test. Now, 30 on a D100 is quite hard to roll, and if you're rolling that all the time, it won't necessarily work. But if you keep your morale up by, there's a little gradient, so if you eat the right food, if you get enough sleep at night, and you keep your character nice and clean, then more resistance. So say you were stabbed and you were in a swamp, you've suffered a wound, you're trying not to get filth rot, you're trying not to get a disease, so you take a toughness test. If you're keeping yourself well fed, cleaned and well rested, you add 30 to your toughness test, 60. This can go up or down depending on whether you're injured. Again, if you're eating just plain rations rather than proper cooked food, it really does make it mean that you have to worry about what your character is doing in their off hours rather than just combat. But anyway, what we need to move on next to is to fill out the rest of the sheet, and that is equipment. So if I just take a little break and we'll get right back to that. So as you can see, I've started filling things out. This is all the gear that you will start with automatically, regardless of your character, unless your game master has something special. You will automatically start with 4 rations, mess gear, bedroll, a small backpack, firelighting equipment, water skin of 1.5 litres, varies on character size, but it's a day's worth of water, 2 pouches, and some soap. Oh, and you also start with a knife. You do get the choice between a single-edged knife or a double-edged knife. I've gone for a double-edged knife because it seems more what you'd be going for. But there are some options you get to choose from. So the next thing we do is we can choose from normal weather clothes, warm weather clothes, or one of each. So he's going to have warm weather clothes. He's a dwarf, he's from the Mediterranean. You know, he'll just carry a tunic. Warm weather clothes, times 2, and you know, they weigh 400 grams each, so it's 0.8 of a kilo. All weight is in kilos, so that's 1,000 grams per kilogram. So, you know your maths. He'll take, he'll take some sandals because, again, he's a dwarf, he's a Roman. He wears sandals. They're warm weather, so he gets bonuses to resist heat exhaustion, essentially, because he's wearing the right sort of clothing. Note, every piece of gear has a quality. In this case, you always start with poor quality items unless you buy otherwise. What this means is he'll get a plus 10 to anything using these equipment. So again, for his warm weather gear, because he's most of his body's in warm weather gear, to resist heat exhaustion, he gets a plus 10. So he'll get his morale, which is currently at plus 30. His toughness, which is also 30, and his clothing. So he'll be at a grand total of he'll have to roll 70 or less to resist heat exhaustion. Nice and easy, but obviously there can be negatives to that, such as thirst, the amount of heat, humidity, and basically all these other things. If he was wearing, now obviously his clothes would give him a penalty if he was in a cold environment, so obviously you might want to be wearing warmer weather clothes. Other things we get to decide is armor, because you will start with a piece of armor. I'm going to go for you start either get a thick padded vest or a thin padded short sleeve jacket. Now I'm going to go for the short sleeve jacket because again I want to be as mostly covered as possible. So the armor of thin padding starts at 7. It's poor quality, so it goes down by 1. So armor 6. You're probably looking at this and thinking, oh god, how do I fill this in? Well, I'm here to show you. First thing to do is I always go for using these as the lowest level of armor, because you get up to 3 layers. So armor is 6. It covers the front of the body, so 6. It covers the whole of the front, so I fill in this little box here to show that it covers the whole front. Same with the back. Now the type of armor it is, where it's got the special linked, is basically wearing sleeves, so it automatically covers up the joint. So the joints are covered. So I'll fill these in, and obviously they're filled in too. Do the legs, because the jacket goes down to the legs, and it's specifically a closed jacket, so we get to fill in these as well, and because it's closed, covers the groin. So if he was to get hit in the crotch, he'll resist 6 of that if there's no weapon penetration on it. So we put this in. Poor quality, thin, padded jacket. Closed. And that has, and the great thing is that has no armor check penalty thus far. More on that later. And it weighs 2.4 kilos. See, because you buy armor in parts, you can see that there are many locations on the body that can be targeted. Joints, head, also the face as well, groin, hands, everything else. So footwear also counts as thin padding for the purposes of armoring the foot. So he's also got an armor of 6 on his feet. So he's quite well covered with light armor. Of course, any substantial weapon will just cleave right through it. You'll see the weapon stats here, but I'll get onto those in a moment. Other things you can get to choose are cold or wet weather gear. We'll go for wet weather, so he's better at surviving in a rainstorm. Okay, and that gives him 1 kilo. Now, interesting, we get a choice of 3 things here: grooming kit, sewing kit, or professionals tools. Grooming kit is keeping your character clean and tidy. Sewing kit is repairing soft armor, like his jacket, or in professional tools, you pick a profession and that's how they work. So in this case, these are poor quality professional tools and they're going to be blacksmith's tools. And because they're poor quality, they weigh 7.5 kilos. So he is carrying quite a lot of weight around. But these are, he doesn't have an anvil, but if you can find an anvil, he can craft metal armor and weapons. Next thing you know is he'll have some 5 meters of rope. As one of his choices, 1.25. Maintenance kit. No, maintenance kit or healer's kit. He's got his tools to maintain him, so we'll go for. See, because he's got the blacksmith's tools, he can use those to maintain his metal armor. So we'll instead go for the medical kit, first aid kit. Because he knows his way around first aid, and this way he can heal people up a little bit. It might be important, because that way, if he gets stuck out in the wilderness, he can at least patch his wounds up. And the final thing to pick is, well, do we want a shelter or a bandolier and extra pouches? We'll go for a shelter. He likes to have a little luxury, so he has a medium shelter. Which weighs 6 kilos. So if he's ever caught out in the wilderness, at least he's got a place to keep the rain off. So we add this all up. So we have more to buy, but we'll just add up what we have now. So I'll be back in a moment once I've done that. Right, okay. So I've totaled up his entire weight of what he's carrying and his thin padded jacket. Now, if you're wearing the armor, it weighs half as much because it's spread out a little more. So 1.2 plus all this, 29.5 kilos. It will buy other equipment, so I'll just leave that there for now. Instead, I'll focus on carry weight. Carry weight's obviously quite an important thing in these games, and it's really nice and easy to work this out. So, just quickly, strength 23. So, your light load for him is 23 kilos. So, as long as he's only carrying 23 kilos or less, it's a light load, no penalties. Normal is twice this number, so again, nice and easy. 46. So, if he's 46, okay, he's got some penalties now. No problem, but no problems. 3 times this value, so that would be 69. Heh. So if he's carrying 69 kilos, he's at a few penalties there. Now struggling is 5 times his number, so he can carry 115 kilos. Now struggling is supposed to be sort of, if you can carry it a short way, but you're not traveling overland with it. You can probably carry it down the road, but you might need to take a break beforehand. And your push value. Pushing is obviously you're pushing, you're pulling. It's a nebulous sort of concept of how easy it is to say push a cart, a box, etc. Now, push is nice and easy. It is a set number, in this case 4 for medium creatures. Add your strength, so he has a push value of 6. Now, something like a horse has a push value of like 12, so he is essentially half a horsepower. And now we will go on to choosing more equipment, and I'll show you how things go here as well as writing it down here. So once again, I'll just bring up my little document. So go to knife, make sure all the things are done. So it's a poor quality knife. Knife does 1d10 damage, slashing and piercing because it's double-edged. Has a piercing of would normally be a piercing of 1, but where it is poor quality, it has a piercing of 0. So if he tries to hit someone with his knife, he's only getting his strength value, being 2, so it has a penetration of 2. So it can slice through 2 pieces of armor, or in the case of soft armor, like his jacket, if he's piercing with it, it doubles that value to 4. It has a range of 0-2. -2 is its throw, so you can throw a dagger, no problem, up to 2 meters easily. But it has not range. Get onto ranges when we do combat. So again, we'll go on to its special rules. Slash throw, quick draw, double-edged, conceal. Oh, it gets +10 conceal. So you get +20 to conceal it, and it is an offhand weapon, which means you get no penalties for wielding in the offhand. You only suffer the penalties to your strength. Now we have 10 silver. So that's our starting value to buy more weapons. Now I'm thinking he's okay for a dagger as a backup weapon, but I think he needs something for a main weapon. So we'll scroll down and we'll go for a spear. He's a dwarf, not really one for spears, but let's go with spear and shield, and that will give him a nice weapon to go around. So once again, we'll make it poor quality because we're only starting. We don't need that good a gear, which halves the price. So that will make it cost 50 copper. There's 100 copper so in silver. So we've hardly spent anything. So spear will do 1d10 plus 3 damage at his strength, so it's 1d10 plus 5 damage. That bit. Spears, they only do piercing damage because, well, Again, pierce is normally 3, goes down by 1 because of its level, goes back up by 2 because of his strength, so it has a piercing of 4. So his spear could quite easily slash straight through his jacket and it has no problem. Its range is 1.5 meters. Again, we'll cover ranges later. And it has a weight of 1.2 kilos. So we'll just check exactly what its rules are. So it is 1-2 handed, so you can use it in 1 or 2 hands, no problem. It has set and lance. Set will allow him to set the weapon, and any enemy that comes towards him he'll get a free attack on. And lance is, well, you can use it as a lance on horseback to really stick it to him. But I think we're done with weapons. He doesn't really have any ranged options for his thing. He's not that bad with a bow, but you know, nothing special. So next we'll go down to shields, and we'll give him a nice big shield. Scrolling down. So now, what sort of shield should we give him? I'm thinking a medium shield, so he's got something that will cover a large chunk of his body, so medium shield. So this will go in the armor section. So medium shield. Box. You know what? Revision, we're going to put a box here, and this will be our shield number. So, don't worry, this is all playtesting. It's how we need to learn how to do these things. So, medium shield, poor quality, so it goes down by 1. So, medium shield has an armor value of 15. Has a weight of 5 kilos, and an armor check penalty, something to note, of 4. So he currently has an armor check penalty of -4. Now that's important. Now shields do not get the 1 reduction, so that's currently 6.2. But what does a medium shield cover? It covers here the front. Now you can see these little triangles next to some of these points. So it covers the front. You fill in that little triangle, and that means it's covered by the shield. So it covers his front. It covers the left side, so this side, upper arm, the forearm, and the thigh. Now these are what it covers automatically, so he doesn't even have to block. If it strikes any of these sections, it'll just glance off and hit the shield, hopefully protecting him. And with a shield of 15, it's got to hit quite hard to put any sort of damage there, unless it's a blunt attack. So shields are really good for stopping you from getting hurt. Put that on a box. Now we go down to armor. Cost of a shield is 3 silver shillings. So it will go. So cut in half, 1.5. So it's 150 copper crowns. So he is now at a grand total of 8 silver shillings left. So we will scroll down, because we're not going to give him any upgrades. He's just having a basic thing. So we're going to go into solid armors. It's a bit of a misnomer, but we're going to have a quick look at chainmail a second. Now chainmail is really expensive. It is 15 silver shillings per piece of chainmail, but we're going to go for cheap stuff. So we're going to go for shoddy quality chainmail, so that's reduced it by 10, by a factor of 10. So for every piece of chainmail we buy, it will be worth 1.5 silvers instead. So I'm thinking we just buy a bit of chainmail for his chest. So he's basically wearing a chainmail vest. So now, so we're going to go for a shoddy chain vest. And now this is where we're going to get sneaky, because that would cost us, well, I'll just go into that. has to now, because of its armor rule, it's linked the same way the padding is. It has to cover the entire piece that it's covering, but as a advantage it will cover joints. But we're only going for the vest for now. So it will have shoddy. It has an armor value of 15 as standard, -2 for its armor. Goes up to, or goes down, sorry, to 13. So it's armor 13 on the front and the back, and they have to be filled in. Now to cover a part, it has to be, you have to buy 2 lots of it to fully cover a part. If you only buy 1 lot, there's some attacks, such as if you call a shot to an area, so you deliberately target an area, it misses that armor and it gets around it. So that's why you buy 2 sets. Now in this way, he's covered quite fairly on the chest, so he has a lot of armor on his chest, and that's only costing us 3 silver. But I'm looking at this and thinking, you know, he might need a little more. So what we will then do is we will buy a little arm sleeve. So you know, it's kind of a custom job. He's going to buy a sort of a chain sleeve, so that will cost him another 3 silver. So he's already, yes, no. It will cost him 1.5 silver, so 3 silver, 6 silver. So actually, we can't afford it. So we can't afford any more armor. That's what he's got. We have 2 silvers left. Haha, nearly did it there. But this is why you write things down, everyone. So he's quite covered on the chest. He's got 2 armor there, and we'll finish this out by going. We'll get him some. Let's get him some leather plates. We'll get some shoddy leather plates. That'll cost 60 copper each. We have 2 copper, so we can buy 3 leather plates. So we'll buy 1 for each leg, which will have an armor value of 9, and we'll get him 1 for his head as well. So he's got a little bit of head protection, a little bit of head protection, a little bit of ankle protection. This arm doesn't have a lot of. This arm's covered by a shield. This arm doesn't have a lot of protection, but it's his sword arm. It doesn't need much. So we'll go shoddy leather plate, shin guard times 2, and they weigh 1 kilo each, so 2 kilos. I should have done a chain. Oh, my mistake. Yeah, well, 2.5 kilos each, so by 4, 10 kilos. So he's wearing 10 kilo of chain and a shoddy leather plate cap. Again, 1 kilo. And now we have to look at the penalty for each one. So chainmail normally has a penalty of 2. Because of its shoddy level, it now has a penalty of 3 for each piece. So 1, 2, 3, 4 times it by 3, negative 12. Leather plates, again, normally 2. Shoddy, up to 4. He's wearing 3 of them. No, that would be 16, and this will be 12. I think. Yes. Yeah, sorry. The chainmail vest actually has a penalty of 16. So now we add up his grand total of his armor check penalties, which makes 32. Yeah, 32. So he has an armor check penalty currently of 32 from his armor alone. Now, what is armor check penalty? It is it tires you out. So let's have a quick scenario about how that will work. We'll go into mobility skills because they're primarily affected. So you can see that we've got a little thing here to give us a little reminder. You can tell I need it. The maneuver, we've got the skills here, 51. Now this means that if he rolls 49, 29, so if he rolls a 29 or less, he's okay. In this case he rolled a 32. Now this does not mean he has failed the roll. What he has done is he's rolled high enough that his armor has just managed to tire him out. He's successfully done his maneuver check, he's weaving his way through the crowd, but he's failed his keeping tired. So now he has to take a toughness test, add his morale of 30, so 60. He passes, he doesn't tire out. So it's important. Eat your vegetables, kids. Keeps you fit and capable of running around. And as you can notice, wealth down the bottom, he had 20 copper crowns left, so we'll give him the 20 copper crowns. Now you might remember that he rolled an heirloom, which improves one piece of his gear in quality. So what we're going to do is we're going to increase his blacksmith's tools. They have a special rule, so they are now good quality, so they give him a plus 20 to his skills. Now professional tools have a special rule called scale weight. There's a lot of rules to go into, but what does scale weight do? Scale weight is essentially the more you have, the more it weighs. So in this case, it's not the fact that the tools themselves are better, it's that there's more of them. So rather than just having, like a hammer and a ruler, he's now got more to it. He's got more things. He's got a greater amount of tools to work with. So that actually brings the weight up to 10 kilos. So add another 2.5 kilos to this, so that would make 30, 32. So 32. So he's wearing 32 kilos worth of gear. So ignore the shield a moment. 2.4, 12, 14, 15, 15.4. Cut it in half. What do you get? 17.5, 7.7. Add the 5 for the shield. That will be 13.7. So yeah, 13.7 kilos. So he's weighing 13.7. He's also got 32 kilos of gear on him, so 45.7. So he's a total weight of 45.7 kilos. Now you might notice that is literally just under his normal weight. So he'll suffer no penalties for carrying around normal gear. All happy. And yes, I think we can safely call him finished. We have a backstory. We have all his skills. We have his morale. We have his armor. Again, he's quite a well-armored dwarf, as they should be. He's got a spear and a knife for offense and defense. He's got a shield, which he can use offensively too if he needs to. And we've got all his important stats done. So with that, come and join me next time, and we will sort out playing a little scenario with Titus Antonius.